we have a very special guest, the Attorney General of the great state of Texas and the Republican Senate nominee, Mr. Ken Paxton. General, appreciate you calling into Breitbart News Saturday today.
Hey, so glad to be on with you. I appreciate it.
So the left for weeks has been crowing about polling showing James, God is non-binary, Talarico polling well. I mean, he has just been spending millions and millions and millions of dollars so far from money from far beyond Texas. But it looks like polling is kind of starting to change a little bit. I know an Emerson poll this week had you up. So August 4th, Breitbart News had a story analyzing some of the polling that found that Talarico could not reach a winning margin in the election. It talked about the trend lines and how Talarico has maxed out the Democrat coalition in the state, while the uncommitted voters are voters who traditionally vote Republican. So it seems like things may be kind of starting to turn your way in polling as you started kind of coalescing support with Republicans. How are you feeling right now? What kind of response are you getting from voters on the ground about your candidacy?
Look, we knew it was going to be a tough summer because I came out of a runoff, 3-month runoff that he did not have. So he had the ability to raise money for 3 months that I didn't have. So I started June 1st with basically $0. He had just raised $30 million, most of it from California. It's clear where the money's coming from. It's Californians and New Yorkers that are pushing his fundraising, and that's where his support is coming from. So since then, obviously the summer we've been raising money. It's challenging in Texas, but I will say this: now that we've hit sort of mid-August, this is when people start coming back from vacations, and I am convinced, just because of all the rallies we've had in the last 2 weeks, I've never seen more excitement at things that I've been at. So I know that our voters are starting to get motivated, and that's the key. If we can turn out Republican voters, and I think we will, once they know what James Talarico actually believes. He's trying to deceive voters right now. He's running from all these radical positions that he voted on, whether it's boys and girls sports, transitioning kids, state income tax, pushing DEI in the schools. This guy is really a radical socialist. So people know that in Texas. There's no way he's going to win. It's our job to get that message out.
Yeah, what do you think Texas could expect from a Senator James Talarico? I mean, if you look at the kind of tenuous coalition that Chuck Schumer has, it seems like those establishment-type Democrats in Washington are increasingly kind of becoming beholden to these Talarico-type candidates. I mean, how dangerous would he be if he were, God forbid, to end up in Chuck Schumer's coalition up there?
I tell people to close their eyes, and imagine this guy being a U.S. senator from Texas. And I tell him all the things that he believes. And I said, now open your eyes up. And I said, that's a nightmare. We're not going to have a nightmare in Texas, but it would be a nightmare to have a guy from Texas leading our state towards socialist democratic views. And I think it would be a bad signal for the entire country if Texas decided, which I know they won't, if somehow we ended up with a James Talarico pushing this woke leftist agenda that is in line with the Democratic Socialists.
We're talking with Texas Attorney General and Republican Senate nominee from Texas, Ken Paxton. You touched on this. I mean, you won a contentious primary in which you challenged an incumbent. That's always going to generate certain feelings among different, pockets of the electorate. But this week, we had this on Breitbart.com, 18 Republican members of Congress from Texas. You rolled out endorsements of that, a large group, 18. That's a big chunk of Republicans from the state. Do you see that Republicans in the state are beginning to come together now that they do see this threat that Talarico poses that you described? I mean, what are you doing to kind of bring in those voters who may have supported either John Cornyn or Wesley Hunt in the primary?
So obviously, Talarico said that God is non-binary, but this is a binary choice, and it's a choice between a radical leftist and a conservative Republican. And so I think the reality of that is hopefully seeping in. It's not like we still don't have these other choices. We're down to two choices. And so, I've done a lot of work reaching out to people. I'm continuing to reach out to people, trying to connect with them and explain my positions. And I get it. We don't always get our way on how things turn out. And everybody I vote for doesn't win. But eventually I move on and vote for the Republican because there's literally no choice. Even if that Republican is not my favorite Republican, I can't afford a guy like James Talarico. And I would vote. And I said this. They asked me over and over, would you come out and support John Cornyn if you don't win? I said, absolutely, no doubt about it. I will be out there because James Talarico is the most dangerous candidate in Texas that we've ever had.
Well, that's saying something when you look at some of the lunatics that Texas has nominated, the Democrats have. I think of Beto O'Rourke, Robert Francis, whatever his God-given name was. But for some reason, these Democrats running in Texas always become the darlings of these super left-wing national Democrats. I worked in Texas politics for a little bit, worked for Congressman Brian Babin, who has endorsed you.
Yeah.
He's a good man. Texas is a big state, but it's still conservative. Why is it that year after year after year we hear from Democrats that this is the year that it's going to turn blue? Is it just because of the size of the state that is such a big prize? Or are they seeing something that we're not? Why do we hear this time and time again?
I think it's on their top wish list because they know they've got California rigged. They've got many of these other liberal Democratic states rigged because their election laws are so bad. And so their hope, if they take Texas, we're not going to elect another president from the Republican Party. We're not going to have a congressional majority. So their dream is to take Texas because now they have three of the largest four states, and the goal. And look, it's a midterm year, tends to be tougher for the party in power. And so I think they're hopeful, like the year they ran Beto O'Rourke, I think it was less than a 2-point race for Ted Cruz. And they're hoping for the same thing here. And we just got to make sure that doesn't happen.
Well, you won your primary without help from Washington. I think in the primary you'd spent, or money spent for your campaign was just like around $4 million, which in a state like Texas, with all the people and the money there, that's just an unbelievable victory. But money is still the mother's milk of politics. And now that the dust is kind of settling after the primary, you've been very intentional at outreach to not just Republican voters, but independent voters. But what kind of response and what kind of working relationships are you finding from Republicans outside of Texas? Because again, the NRC and the Washington types had gone in so much for Cornyn, but are you finding that Washington Republicans actually want to win this race, given the high stakes that you had just described?
Look, I think they need Texas. If we lose Texas, the Senate's gone. We're not going to hold the Senate. So I think they know that, and I've had great conversations with leadership in the Senate, and I think they've been very supportive. I'm waiting, obviously, on some financial assistance, which I think is coming, and but I think they know that the stakes are high. That this is right now it's a close race. And that's why I also am encouraging, because Talarico is raising so much money out of state, especially go to kenpaxton.com and just give what you can to help us close the gap so that we can get up on TV, because he started his ads on TV about $3 million a week early to mid-July. And because we started at zero, we're trying to accumulate enough to be on TV. So I think we'll have a few up resources to highlight who this guy really is, because his commercials are going to try to cover it all up.
We're talking with Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Got him for a couple more minutes. General Paxton, I want to talk about the Save America Act. You, during the runoff, came out and just said if the Senate would actually move to pass the Save America Act, that you would consider dropping out of the race as kind of an incentive maybe for these establishment senators in Washington to get off their tuchus and actually do something to move President Trump's top legislative priority. I mean, that was a great political move. Unfortunately, the Senate still hasn't acted to move the Save America Act. The Senate is an incredibly unpopular body. God bless you for wanting to go join it. But what do you think the Senate needs to break out of its funk and be more responsive to the voters who sent the Republicans there? Is it a rules change? Is it just a little bit of courage? I mean, what's needed there, and what do you want to bring to the United States Senate?
Look, it's always about a lot of these guys. A lot of them, they know what the right thing to do is. They know we have to protect the elections, that elections are not safe right now when you don't have to have a photo ID in almost any of the Democratic states. You don't have to check your voter rolls to make sure non-citizens are not voting, and then mail-in ballots can be sent out to anybody, and there's no ballot security at all. That has to be fixed, or we are going to lose this country. So I think it's I think people know that. I truly believe they know that. It's just a matter of having the courage to do it. And look, there's apparently a few Republican senators who won't vote for it, which keeps us, under the 50 vote margin, which I don't understand. I'd love to talk to them. I think a lot of them that are against it are leaving, but there are a few still there. And I'd love to hear their viewpoint on why they're not interested in protecting national elections, why that isn't a motivating factor for them, because all this other stuff that we're for isn't going to matter if we can't protect our elections and have the opportunity to have a majority.
One thing, after President Trump endorsed you in your primary runoff, in response to a Breitbart White House correspondent, Nick Gilbertson, at a press briefing, J.D. Vance made it very clear that President Trump's endorsement should send a message to other Republican senators and even potential challengers to those senators that if you don't actually remember the people who sent you up there, if you're not supporting the agenda, then you're gonna get sent back home. What does it feel like to be a part of that message from President Trump to current and potential future senators, that there is a realignment coming in the United States Senate, one that is going to be not even just alone just more Trumpian, but just more responsive to the voters?
Look, I love President Trump. I love his agenda. I think we should support it. We don't have these opportunities forever. We've got limited time to make a difference for America, and we shouldn't waste a single day. And yes, I think that we should all be responsive to our voters. We should listen to them. We should at least engage with them and try to understand what they want. And for the most part, we should be up there. If we are doing our job, we should be up there doing the work of the people, doing what our people are requesting that we do. We certainly know that some of these issues, no one agrees 100% on everything, but you can see which issues, like the Save America Act. I don't think there's a more popular issue in America than the Save America Act. So why don't we pass it? It doesn't make sense to be non-responsive to the people that elected you.
Attorney General from Texas, Ken Paxton, appreciate you coming on the program. Where can folks go if they want to find out more about you and your campaign, and maybe even choose to help out your campaign if that's what they want to do?
Well, I appreciate you asking. It's kenpaxton.com, and you can read about our campaign, and you can donate it. Please help if you can, even if it's just a little amount. It all adds up, and we need the help because right now we had a 3-month lag in an 8-month campaign, so we're trying to catch up. And when we do, we're going to win this race.
Ken Paxton, sir, appreciate you joining Breitbart News Saturday today. We look forward to hearing more from you in the remaining 80-plus days of this campaign. Good luck to you, sir.
Hey, thanks a lot. Have a great weekend.